Okay, if you look into the nomenclature of amines, which means you are going to um, how you are going to name, okay, your amines, and also in different degree, for example primary, secondary, and also tertiary. Okay, so for primary first, you have two ways of naming it, by looking into the R group. Okay, for example the CH3 and H2, right? So the CH3 here is R group, CH3 is R group. So by looking at the CH3 as a substituent, or you want to name the whole group as a, I mean, you want to look into it as a whole compound. Okay, so let's say if you want to look at the R as the substituent, so here is CH3, so it's a methyl, and then you just add amine. Okay, so that's why you have methyl amine. But let's say if you want to name it as as a group itself, okay, you are going to make it as a, for example CH3 is actually is from CH4, right? So it's a methane, right? So just remove the E, and when you add the NH2 it become methanamine. Okay, methanamine. Okay, so that's the two ways of naming it. One, you look into it as a substituent to name it as a methyl amine, or as a whole compound methanamine. Okay, and if you look into here, you have the R group here, CH3 CH2. Okay, and it is supposed to, I mean, it comes from the ethyl. Okay, and you can have it as a ethylamine or ethanamine. Okay, and for here you can see this is like a branch. Okay, you have a branch here from the R group. So if you look into it as a substituent, it's a isobutyl. So isobutyl amine. Okay, or if you want to name it as a compound, as a whole compound, okay, you have to look it in a way like how you usually name it. Okay, so find the longest carbon chain that bears the NH2. Okay, so this would be the longest carbon chain that bears the NH2, right? So the carbon that holds NH2 is get number 1 and number 2 and number 3. So at carbon number 2 you have the methyl substituent, and these are 3 carbons on the longest chain, so it's a prop. Okay, so 2 methyl, because methyl is carbon number 2, and propanamine. You can write 1 in between the methyl and propanamine to indicate the location of the amine. Okay, and if not, if you don't want to write also, it's no problem, so just write 2 methyl propanamine. Okay, and then for the cycloaxyl here, okay, though this is a cyclic group, okay, of X, you have a 6-sided, so it should be a cyclohexane, but as a substituent it is a cyclohexyl, so cyclohexylamine. And then here the another way of naming is cyclohexanamine. Okay, so it's either you looking into it as a substituent and name it, or as a whole compound and you name it. So two ways of naming it. Okay, so that's about your primary. And how about your secondary and also tertiary amines? Okay, so when you want to name your secondary or tertiary amines, you have to group it. Okay, so group it means, how you're going to group it means is that the smaller groups on the amine nitrogen are designated as a substituent and given the locant n. Okay, means you are not going to give a number for the substituent on the secondary or tertiary amines. Okay, because the number normally give it to the hydrocarbon, I mean the carbon chain there. Okay, but for the amine, let's say you have a substituent in the nitrogen. Okay, the smallest of the substituent there, okay, will be given as a locant n. Okay, designated as a substituent and given as a locant n, which means the larger group become the parent name. Okay, so let's look into the example. Wait. Okay, let's look into the first example here. Okay, so how you're going to look into it is that ethyl methyl amine. So how you know which, why it is ethyl, why it is methyl? Okay, so like I say, you have two ways of naming it, right? Because you have the if you look into it as a substituent, and also if you are going to name it as a whole compound. Okay, so the first one you see here, you have N, and then you have the H. H. Okay, so the N is bonded to CH2CH3, and another side you have the CH3. So this is your methyl, and this will be your ethyl, right? Okay, so you have, okay, let's look into the first type of naming it. Okay, so first type of naming is that you have a methyl and you have the ethyl, both also substituent. So which one will come first? Follow the alphabetical order. That's why you name it as ethyl, methyl, amine. Okay, and now let's say if you want to name it as amine, okay, as a compound itself. Okay, so between these two, methyl is the smallest group, so you make it as a substituent. Okay, so substituent, and then this is a larger group, so you name as a compound. Okay, so this is ethyl, so actually it's ethanamine, right? Okay, so it's ethanamine. Okay, but now you have nitrogen, I mean you have the methyl here is bonded to the nitrogen, so you just write N methyl ethanamine. Okay, so you have to join so N methyl ethanamine. So N here is like kind of like the number, okay, in your substituent on the carbon. Okay, so similarly goes for the primary, I mean tertiary, and so on. Okay, so let's say if you look into the second example here. Okay, so you have N. So the N is all bonded with ethyl group, CH2 CH3, and then CH2 CH3, and then CH2 CH3. So how you name this thing? Okay, because all are same, right? Okay, so when all are same, the first type of naming you can just substitute it as, I mean name it as a substituent. So all are ethyl group, right? So all are ethyl group, so you get how many ethyl here? 3 ethyl. So triethylamine. Okay, so triethylamine. Okay, let's say you have to join it. There's no gap here, so ethylamine. Okay, and if you want to name it as a amine, as a normal, as a compound itself, so how you're going to name it? So between these two, I mean between all the three here, okay, you have to make one of it as a part of the parent. Okay, because all are same substituent here. Okay, so somehow it's going to be a ethanamine. Okay, so ethanamine. But now you have, maybe I just take this two as a substituent, and this one is a part of the compound itself. So ethanamine. So you have two substituent on the N. So you just write N, N, comma N, like how you write a number, right? Okay, N, comma N, and sorry, and hyphen diethyl ethanamine. Okay, so let's say if you have another example, for example here, and CH2 CH3, maybe CH3 and then CH3. Okay, so similarly here you can see it is a one of it is a larger group, right? So this one will be the parent, so ethanamine, and then you have two methyl groups, so at the end, so N dimethyl ethanamine. Okay, so N dimethyl ethanamine, maybe I just write it back, dimethyl ethanamine, and hyphen. Okay, so that's how you're going to name your amines, okay, depending on the degree of the substituent and so on. Okay, so how about the nomenclature of substituent NH2 as a substituent? Means your NH2 now become a substituent rather than the main compound itself. Okay, so it's actually easy, because let's say when does your NH2 act as a substituent? When it is paired with a compound with higher priority, for example ethanol, carboxylic acid, and so on. Okay, so in this case you can see here, so you have two carbon in the group, I mean in the compound, and it is bonded to OH and it's bonded to NH2. So OH higher priority, so it's a alcohol. So NH2 here will act as a substituent. So it is a ethanol, because two C's, so ethanol. But what is number for amine? So C number 1 that bears OH, C number 2 that bears the amine here. Okay, so when you want to name it as a substituent, so the NH2 now become amino. Okay, so 2-amino ethanol. Similarly for here, if you look into here, the propanoic acid here, because you have 1, 2, 3 carbon, and this is a carboxylic acid. Okay, so it is actually a propanoic acid, right? Propanoic acid. So at carbon number 3 here, you have the amine, or which is as a substitute is amino. So 3-amino propanoic acid. Okay, and then for aryl, I think you can recall this structure in your benzene chapter. Okay, it's benzanamine or aniline, and this is known as N-methyl aniline. Okay, or N-methyl benzanamine. Why? Because at N here, okay, maybe I just draw it back. At N-methyl, okay, just a benzene ring. Okay, so you have here N, and then the N is bonded to a H, right? And the N is bonded to CH3. Okay, so the whole compound here, it is a benzanamine. Okay, so benzanamine. Okay, and this is bonded with one substitute on the N, so it's N-methyl benzanamine. Okay, so that's how you are going to look into it. And the last one you can see here is a p-toluidine, or known as a 4-methyl benzanamine. So benzanamine as a main compound here. Okay, and then the CH3 is the substituent. So 4-methyl benzanamine. Okay.